Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us live today at our Winter 25 edition, our product showcase when spend becomes a conversation. I'm very happy to see so many of you already joining in, and I hope that those numbers grow in the first few minutes. But before we get started, I'd like to ask, as I usually do, where everyone is from, and then I can tell you who we are and what we're going to be covering today. Where are you all joining from? Okay, we have Belgium, UK, Germany. Wow, Santa Fe. Awesome. We're from our speakers today. A few of us are based in Sofia, and we also have Farah joining us from Dubai. So this is a very international webinar. Slovakia, amazing. Okay, so to tell you who we are, who are all of us on this call, we have Christo Borisov, our CEO. Me, Tsvetina, I am Director of Product Marketing here at Payhawk. And I'm also joined by Boris and Pavel, who are product managers in Payhawk. And we have Farah, one of our customers from the great company Paradox. And we will all guide you through everything that this very, very packed webinar has to offer today. Before we get started with all of that, I want to introduce or remind those of you that have been here before that there is a questions tab in the lower right corner. Right next to the chat, there's a questions tab. And if you add your questions in there throughout the entire session, we'll have a dedicated Q&A at the end, and we can make sure to answer your questions so it does not get lost in the chat. So please go back to that if you come up with questions while we present. The agenda, as I said, is very packed, so we're super excited to show you so many things. We're going to start with a quick intro of Payhawk, and then we're going to go through the impact that we expect to see from AI in 2026, based on some research and insights that we've gathered in the last few months. Then we're going to show you each of our agents in detail with their full native experience in the product and mobile app. And then we're going to quickly talk about a few other things that we're introducing with this winter edition, which are related to e-invoicing and custom roles. At the end, as I promised, we'll have a dedicated Q&A session. So without any time to waste, I'll hand it over to our CEO, Christo, to give you a quick introduction of Payhawk.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm very excited to meet you all here. Of course, we have a blend of existing customers and prospects who are joining our webinar. So we want to make sure that we give you, a quick overview of what we do and what we stand for and where the company is going into as a direction. But I think one of the most important things for this release and this webinar, we're extremely excited because it's actually the culmination of about a year and a half of work where we have really spent a lot of time to really imagine how we think about Payhawk in an AI native world. And we do have two products, travel and procurement, which we have built from the ground up using AI. And one of the most important things for us has been really the investment to bring all of those experiences and agents into the portal. So what you're going to actually see and what we're releasing this month is the ability to interact with all of our agents within the portal and within the mobile app. So more on that in a few minutes. So for Payhawk as an AI native spend management platform, the way we think about is that we want to really combine and orchestrate all the money related to bills, cards, expenses, travel, and procurement into a single place. The first thing is, what is Payhawk? Well, let's first explain that one of the biggest pain we see in businesses is that managing money is extremely slow, and it's dragging every business down and it's preventing it from realizing its full potential. It creates a huge amount of administration to manage money in general. So if you think about a finance leader today, he's spread between two things. First, how you manage money. And financial leaders today are really forced to manage their spending with written policies and rules and budgets across different systems. And this results in a very excessive manual controlling. So you need to go and hire a lot of financial controlling. You have to do a lot of payment reconciliation with your accountants. And then it really delays the month-end closing and having the books in order to make actually accurate decisions. So this involves manual labor, excessive cost, missed opportunities, and very, very slow process to manage money, because money by definition are hard to manage. Then on the other side, you have employees. They're asked to run the business faster, but they are unable to do so because they face a lot of administrative burden across many systems policies that's really killing their productivity. So today, because those written rules and policies and budgets are spread in those multiple systems and they're disconnected from the payment method, you end up with a lot of manual work to manage money. So on one side, you have your travel policy with the agency or with some Notion page or some document explaining how you do travel. You might have your budget in an FP&A tool or in Excel. You have procurement documents and guidelines of how you purchase things. You have different approval systems and how you spend money. The payment methods is really separate from the banking. You have another system that is monitoring the actual spent in the business, and then of course you have the classical expense reports and reimbursement software that you need to use. We are reimagining all that. So Payhawk combines the intelligence and orchestration on top of a global money account. So we have 4 experiences that we provide today. You have card and expenses, travel, bill payments, and procurement. And we have 3 key components that make what we do unique. We combine AI, global money accounts, and enterprise software into a single product. So we become this intelligent orchestration layer on top of your existing ERP and HR systems that helps you manage money in a completely different way. So of course, one of the most important things is our powerful global money account. We are very happy to say that we are now safeguarding all European funds in a JP Morgan bank account. So a lot of the money of our customers are actually staying in JP Morgan. So if you're not familiar with safeguarding for institutions like us, which are regulated businesses, which are different from banks, we are actually not allowed to take your money and to give credit with those money as a bank would do. So what we are required is to keep one-to-one the money you give us into the bank account until you spend the money. This is called safeguarding. And what we do here is we keep the money in financial institutions that are banks that keep the money safe. And in this case, we're very happy to announce the JP Morgan setup for us. So today, what we do in terms of the global money accounts is we give you a treasury capability. So we give you an ability to do dedicated IBANs in 32 countries. We give you extremely competitive rates on money transfers with a 0.3% FX markup, which is really strong rates, better than Wise and Revolut. So for those of our customers who are on the call, if you haven't used our global payments, you should definitely do that. There is a percentage of our customers that are still not on that infrastructure, which we are migrating within the next 3 months. So we're going to be able to put you on that infrastructure so that you benefit from the global payments. We're also working on money market funds and other ways for you to be able to actually make money from the balances that stay in Payhawk. On the credit card side, we do credit and debit card issuing in 33 countries. We have 0% interest rate, so those charge cards that you need pay in full after 30 days. You can make a single card payment with our cards up to 1 million. You can earn up to 3% cash back on card transactions. That's eligible depending on the customer, depending on the volumes, depending on different conditions. And we have 0 FX in 26 countries across the board. On our transfer infrastructure, we have SEPA, faster payment, and ACH, which are the local transfers at €0 or $0. We do have extremely competitive USD SWIFT if you need to use USD. So it is a $3 per share transfer, or I think $9 per share transfer, and $9 per on new transactions. We have payments of bill payments and currencies in 115 currencies today with very, very strong FX rates. A single transfer limit on our accounts is 200 million, and a daily transfer limit is up to 500 million a day. So with that, your finance job will be to orchestrate the processes that save you the most time and money for your business, and this is what we provide with Payhawk. And the goal is to make this extremely beneficial across the business so that your employees really benefit from effortless spending across all the payments types in the business. Well, with that, I'll hand it over back to you.
Thank you, Krista. So very closely related to this, especially at the beginning of the presentation where Krista said how we have been putting a lot of effort and a lot of time into developing the product in the AI native world. We spend some time researching what difficulties leaders around the world see when it comes to AI implementation, AI investments, and where we see opportunities for change and for actual impact in 2026. So we ran a survey at the end of this year in October with over 1,500 people throughout the world, different verticals, different seniority levels. But we saw that 90% of C-suite respondents say that they don't see the expected level of impact, level of value, ROI from their AI investments. And from all of the research existing online, and from all of you, probably you also know that everyone is pushing to invest in AI. So people are investing, they're buying tools, but they're not seeing the return. And in addition to that, we also saw that nearly half of C-suite executives say they don't have clear rules and guidelines. Nothing is set in stone, and that can often prohibit the actual adoption and use of these new tools. On the other hand, nearly half also don't really dedicate time to investigate how these new tools will integrate with their current processes and their current systems. So that also means they're very difficult to use and include into existing processes. And last but not least, something that we were very happy to see is that 80% of C-suite executives agree with us that user experience is a key driver for adoption of any new tool or any change in process. So we've taken all of this and also used it to build our product, and you'll see more about that in a minute. But before that, I would like to also introduce Farah and give the floor for her to, as the financial expert in our webinar, to share a little bit about her insights and her opinions on this.
Thanks. So, hello everyone. I have an interesting point of view on big data. For me, when you look at these numbers, they all point in the same direction. The main blocker for AI adoption today, for me, it's not the technology, it's the human. I always see the same pattern. People are struggling to really adopt AI because of how they project it. They think it has to be a big transformation plan. They feel that they need to know every rule, define it before they start anything. They worry about doing it wrong. And I think for many, AI still feels abstract. So they make it easier than it is, they overthink it, they wait for the perfect moment. And of course, the perfect moment never comes. And what I find interesting on the data, the C-suite talking about UX, about value, about integration, and they are absolutely right because they are pointing of what actually drives adoption. And it's absolutely not the case for all the tools, to be clear. But there is something the data doesn't say explicitly to me. C-levels are not supposed to be just observers of AI adoption. For me, they are responsible for it. And that's the key for me. Leadership has to stop waiting for the perfect roadmap and start with the pain they already feel every day. Basically, here is a real problem we have today. Let's fix this one thing with AI. For me, that's the real adoption playbook. Because when leaders get their hand dirty, test something small, see it work, and they feel the relief in their own workflow, everything changes because AI becomes tangible, AI becomes real. And after that, it's easy for the organization to follow, not because we ask them to use AI, but just because they see and feel the impact. So yes, AI adoption is a big subject, but for me, that's precisely why the leadership cannot just be passive. And yes, it's not only a tech project for me, as we can feel in the data, it's a leadership act first.
Thank you, Farah. I like when we discussed this earlier, or as a summary, basically, of what you just said, is that there's no more time to waste, basically. Instead of trying to find the perfect solution, we need to find the one that is going to solve at least one pain point and go from there. And these three points that we've mentioned here, clear rules, integration, ease of use, are embedded throughout the entire product because our agents are also natively embedded in the PayHawk platform and mobile app. So you have those guidelines that you've already defined governing these agents. You have them fully integrated because that's how they are built. And they are intended to be the easiest way to interact with a financial platform like PayHawk for your employees and for anyone. And this is also the core of the winter edition. So we've been talking about our AI agents for a while. And Farah has been one of the first adopters this year. So she's already seen impact, and we'll share about each individual agent in a minute. But the biggest change that we're introducing in the Winter 25 edition is that these agents are now native in our PayHawk app, mobile app, and platform, because previously we've shown them to you in Slack as a natural conversation there. And now I'd like to show you how our platform and mobile app are changing to accommodate the agents and make it an even smoother experience. So I'm going to start by showing you the portal, which now has a text box in. The first thing you see basically is going to be this chat interface, which allows you to start a conversation with any of our agents. Below, or attach a file. Below that, you'll see active conversations where an agent has replied, and you can jump into any of these. Or you can navigate to our new full screen experience, which is similar. It allows you to start a conversation with any of our agents, use the default prompts at the bottom if you're not sure where to start. And you can also navigate to history and see any of your old conversations, open any of them if you need to retrieve something. Basically how you're used to from your usual AI chat tools that you're using, but this one knows everything about your PayHawk setup, and you can request everything from this one simple chat box. And in a similar way, our mobile app has firstly a brand new look and feel, but also now an integrated chat experience. So you see it looks completely different. It has your to-dos at the top. This is a thing that I haven't submitted, then it has notifications. And in the lower right corner, there's this new button, which opens that same full screen experience. I can start a conversation with any of the agents through here, or in the same fashion, I can navigate to my history and see the previous conversations that I've had with any of the agents. In the same way, retrieve all my data. So your conversations follow you, whether you have them on mobile or on web. You can reach them at any point in time. And you're going to see the presentations that we have for each of the agents are going to be exactly in the new mobile and web portals. So I'm going to start with travel. And for those of you that may not be familiar with what we do in terms of travel in PayHawk, well, the travel agent has allowed us to turn something that used to be fragmented, manual, and often frustrating, time-consuming, like booking a business trip, making sure it's in policy, booking it and where the best price is, and then paying with the tool, and then figuring out your trip reports and wasting a full working day at the end of your trip. Now it's a smart and simple, straight line experience where your time needed is effectively saying when and where you need to be, and the agent handles the rest, making sure you have a safe, secure, simple, and in policy organized trip. And Farah, you have shared a lot of feedback around using the travel agent specifically.
Yeah, I love the frame before vs after to really see the impact. So I create mini before vs after on my mind to share it to you today, and for you to project how it looks like with an agent. But basically, if we are talking about the travel agents, before when you are booking a trip, it was basically, I like to say, a mini project, because you have to open booking, then Google Maps, check the client address, open all the flight websites, then check the travel policy. And in 5 minutes, basically, we already have like 10 tabs open. So we are comparing 3 hotels that are exactly the same. We check within the policy. Non-finance team think, maybe I need to check with finance. So finance received the message, you have to check, answer, etc. The usual back and forth. And like basically 40 minutes gone, the trip isn't booked yet. And when it's finally booked, I think it's a classic moment that all the finance profile here will understand. You don't get the invoice. If you are lucky, you can get the chance to have a screenshot of the booking reservation. I know, I'm pretty sure you all know that. So it was before the agents, and after that, it's very simple. You just have to type in the app, book me a trip in Paris in 2 days, tonight near to the client office, and that's it. You receive in few seconds a list of flights already compliant with the policy, hotel with rating, distance, and budget. So you pick one option and it's easy. You book, it's paid, it's categorized, and it's done. So no more chasing invoice, no more back and forth, no more I will check with finance. And yes, to be honest, I'm not exaggerating when I say that we was used to book a full trip in 45 minutes before, and now it's under 2 minutes. So when you have a lot of travel, it's quite game changer for us. But let's see it in practice.
Thank you for, I mean, as a product manager, it's incredibly rewarding to hear firsthand how our solution is making a real impact for our customers. So thank you for sharing your experience. And with that in mind, let's actually take a closer look at the latest improvements coming on Monday to all PayHo customers currently using our travel agent. So as you know, in PayHawk, we have multiple request types, and one of them is travel. So for the purposes of this demo, what I'm going to do is set up our default travel request. So where I'm going to start is with the field section, which is where you define what is required on the employee side when they're making the request. So what is the reason for travel? What are the trip details? This is the moment that the traveler would select the flight and the accommodation that they want. And you're going to see how this looks like in a second. And they'll also select the card they want to pay with. And if they don't have a card, we can issue a single use card for them. Then you set up the travel policy. In addition to the preferred airlines and existing restrictions for flights and hotels, we've added more granular controls, such as domestic versus short-haul international flights or country-specific rates for depending on where the employee is currently traveling to. And you can see editing policy is very easy. And then finally, what I want to show you is the workflow, which represents the end-to-end journey, starting with the submission of the travel request, the review step, which is fully optional if you have a travel manager. Then we have the approval, which is fully customizable based on your approval process. And then finally, once you have the approval, you have the travel agent, which is creating the expense report for that employee, increasing the car limit, and making finally the booking for the flight and the hotel. So with that, this is how easy it is to set up your process in PayHawk. Now let's move straight into the biggest update since our last webinar. I want to truly set this apart from everything else in the market. A conversational, fully agentic booking experience with native payments built in directly in PayHawk. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell the travel agent where I'm traveling from and to. I'm leaving next Tuesday to London. So the agent will automatically look up for flights for those dates. It will check them against the company policy. It's going to check with my usual preferences, and it's going to give me a prioritized, sorted, filtered list of flight options. And what you're going to see is that I can still see how the company travel policy looks like. I can see all the essential information. I can see which options are outside of policy. So in that case, I don't need a check-in baggage. So I'm going to choose the option with a carry-on baggage. And I can just do that super easy. I'll just select that. And the next thing is that the agent will look for hotels, again, based on the flights, based on the company policy and my personal preferences. So I can look at different options. So in that case, you can see the ratings of the respective places. So you can choose from a variety of different options. I like to see more details. So I'm going to go to the details section. And since I plan to work from there as well, I want free Wi-Fi, and I want it to be closer to my office. So I can do that on the map where the hotel is located. It is. So in that case, I'm just going to choose that and proceed to actually selecting a room. And there, again, you have all the essential information. I can see that obviously I'm not choosing the superior room. It's outside of policy, so I'm going to go ahead with one that has a free cancellation and also breakfast included. And as a traveler, this is everything that I need to do. I have a full request summary, flights, hotel selected, and if I'm also spending with a payroll card, I'm going to have the allowance automatically included with my request. This is everything that I need to do. Once I submit that, it's up to the approval process that you've set up in Payhawk. When will that be approved and automatically booked? So the manager approval, how does it look like? You receive as an approver a notification, and you can directly view the overview of the request. You have the flight, the hotel, the allowance included. You can see whether it's within or outside of policy. You can see how it impacts your travel budget. If you're a budget owner, you're going to see that. And then, in that case, everything looks okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and approve that. The moment I approve it, the flight, the hotel are immediately booked. And me as a traveler, I get a notification saying, hey, everything is ready. These are your reference numbers for the flight and hotel. You can see allowances out on the card. We've created a trip report for you with send you a calendar invite, and you can actually see the full itinerary. You can see where you're landing, when are you checking in, when are you checking out. You can fully interact with it as if you're speaking to a real person. You can ask it to make changes to your itinerary and ask it any questions. So the next step here is obviously, let's say I'm done with my trip. So let's see how the trip report looks like. And I'm going to show you how that looks in the portal. You can see a number of expenses I have done with my card automatically grouped into my report. The expense for flight is already there. I have the invoice generated automatically, and all the data is pre-filled for me. So again, this report, I didn't have to do anything because it's automatically matching all my expenses, and it was automatically submitted after my trip was over. And that's pretty much it. That's the end-to-end experience, starting from request to the final reconciliation. So I'm happy for all of you to start using that and try it out. And with that, I'll pass it over to Tsveti.
Thank you, Bobby. So we saw that in action, and now we're going straight into the procurement agent. And most of you know that procurement has a bad rep for being complicated and inefficient. For employees, making it very difficult for them to follow process and request the right way, follow policy, pay the right way without it costing them 5 to 75 working days. And for the finance team, it's incredibly inefficient because they're often just blindsided with information or a giant invoice about something that they need to pay that they did not even know existed or was approved. And they're just brought into the conversation at the very last moment. So we've turned that into something that combines the control that the finance and procurement team needs with the simplicity that the employee requires to actually follow process. And it looks completely different. Similar to travel, it starts with a simple chat and leaves all of the heavy lifting to the agent, who is meant to gather context, recognize the type of request, trigger the right approvals, chase the right people, and then enable the purchase in the right way according to the finance and procurement team. And then obviously do the reconciliation at the end. Farah, you wanted to did you want to add anything on the procurement agent as well?
No, I think you have the big pictures. Procurement is a mess. People asking for purchases in every possible way on WhatsApp, Slack, at the office. Oh, you are here. Can you take these tools? No structure, no context. Most of the time, we don't know if anyone even approved the expenses. So exactly after that, it's easier. Like the agent guides them to the right question, links everything to the good budget, and forward it automatically to the right approver based on the rules we set before. But yes, no chasing, no confusion. It's very insane.
Thank you, Farah, for sharing the customer perspective. I think it's really useful because this is the exact thinking that we had when we were designing the procurement agent as a feature, because the whole idea at its core is helping you streamline and facilitate your processes for purchasing, regardless of how complicated or basic they are, regardless of how many stakeholders are involved, to solve that pain point of the fragmentation between different systems, different teams, and all of that. That being said, maybe we can jump into a live demo here. So seeing it actually in action, we're gonna put ourselves in the shoes of Diane in this case. Diane is a marketing manager managing a team of 6. She's struggling with project management on her team, and she's gonna request Asana here quite quickly in a chat directly in the portal. Very simple stuff, 6 seats, starter plan for 1 year. She drops a URL to the pricing page of Asana for additional context. And then after a little bit, the agent processes that information and extracts everything that's relevant for the request. All that's left for Diane is just to review the information and confirm this request on her behalf is going to get submitted by the agent. Now the agent knows that this is a subscription request. It knows the company policy that we follow for subscriptions, meaning we're going to get sign off from procurement, from budget owner, from InfoSec, from legal, and all of that is going to be facilitated by the agent as a middleman driving the whole process. Now, if we jump forward and look at how that looks from a procurement manager perspective, we're going to jump into Sarah's view right now. And if you open the portal here, you're going to see that you have a notification from the procurement agent that there's something pending your review. Now, the agent nicely summarizes the information here. There's a short AI summary here to understand at a glance what the request is about. And if you want, you can get into more details, which actually uncovers that the agent has already done a lot more work under the hood. It's extracted the category, the department, the supplier. And in this case, I have all of the information to move forward. Or maybe I don't want to. Maybe there's a challenge in my mind because I know we already have Jira in our stack. So I'm going to quickly ask why are we not using that instead. The agent is going to understand that this is a question we should address with Diane directly, and it's posting a comment on the request itself. The employee replies, Sarah gets a notification, and the justification is Asana is just simpler to configure. It's a small scope purchase. It's not that big of an impact on our funds. So I think we can go ahead and review that, and let's move forward with the process. Now, remember, the next step would be the budget owner approval, and the agent would facilitate that and take all of the necessary context to the budget owner. In this case, that would likely be the VP of marketing. Now they get a quick at a glance context again about what this is about. They can ask the agent clarifying questions to understand more about this request or maybe review the details. But most importantly, they can see the budget impact. So I know how my marketing budget is doing. I know how much I've already utilized, committed for unspent purchases, which are approved, and how much I have available. Approving this is not going to change much visibly. It's going to be a drop in the sea in the marketing budget, which is quite huge. So I think we can go ahead and approve that. Now, the next step logically would be to drive InfoSec, legal, so any other expert stakeholder that you need to make sure that you have the necessary buy-in from the company, and this is a compliant purchase, the agent can drive depending on the configuration, in this case, specifically for subscription. Now, after all of that is done, we're going to have the request fully approved, and Diane is going to get directly money on her card to go and buy Asana. She goes on the website, puts her card details, buys Asana, submits the invoice. We're going to automatically recognize that the invoice is associated with that request she just made. We're going to link it, and because of that, auto approve it. When this reaches the finance team, it has the full context of the history of that purchase. So it's no longer a blindsided finance team by a random invoice, which they don't know, is this a legitimate invoice that we actually expected? Is this for an amount that we expected? The whole context is now in the system, and they can review the whole collaboration around why we're buying this in the first place. All that's left from their perspective is to just review the automated coding of the invoice and review and book that directly into their ERP. Now, once we've seen how that works end-to-end for a journey as complex as subscriptions, and maybe if this was a Zoom license for 100K per month, is going to be a very different story, but it's showing you how you can orchestrate a very complex process, which would usually involve many different systems maybe, and many different stakeholders. But the question then on the other side of the spectrum is, how can you automate tail spend with it. So what about all of these low value transactions, but big in volumes that actually your teams operationally suffer from? Let's take a look at L&D as an example there. So I'm in John's shoes now. I'm a product designer and I want to buy myself a book to understand more about how to design customer-centric features. It's something that we've been quite religious about. So I'm gonna post a quick message. It has an Amazon link directly to the book that I want. And directly from the mobile app in chat, I'm gonna request my book. The agent knows that this is gonna be an L&D request, figures out it's for 20 euros based on the link, and I can go on and just confirm that request to be submitted. Now, this now follows our L&D policy, which is completely separate. In this case, it's going to be a simple team manager approval, and that's it. My manager would be Sarah in this case, and I'm going to get updates on how my request is going. From the manager perspective, I get a quick notification on my mobile app. Once I open it, I'm going to see a nice preview of the request. I can dig deeper if I want. I can ask questions about it, but in the end, 20 euros seems quite sensible for a book. I can go on, approve it, and in this case, it makes sense. It's going to help John. So the agent will directly, after collecting all approvals, go and issue a single-use card for John. So in this case, John is not even needing a card in the first place. He's getting a notification that his request was approved, jumping directly into the app, seeing his card details, and he can go on and buy himself the book that is wanted in this case. Now, this, as a contrast to the previous example, is quite lightweight. It's quite decentralized. There's no central stakeholders from procurement, from finance, and maybe it can be even more lightweight. Maybe you didn't even need that manager approval. If it's within a reasonable amount, if it's within the budget, if the agent justifies it fits the L&D policy of your company, maybe this can be autonomously approved. And that's the future that we're kind of moving towards. So I think what we've just seen is just setting the groundworks for a very exciting 2026, where we're going to build more and more of this autonomous features where you can automate procurement with them. So that being said, please give it a go, share your experience with us, which would help us help you. Yeah, stay tuned for what is coming next. Sveti?
Thank you, Pavel. I think the day we launched the procurement agent internally was one of my happiest days this year. That was the best Slack post that I've seen in a very long time. Everyone was so excited to never again use a procurement form and be confused by 75% of it.
I think we even posted the Slack post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I sure did. Okay. Next up, we have our financial controller and our payments agents. So for the financial controller, I know this is Farah's favorite, so I'm just going to hand it over to you immediately and not waste any of your time.
Yes, it's my first best friend, I already said. So I think it's the best way for you to understand this agent that's doing the before after with you, and let's imagine the moment. So let's imagine we are the 29th of the month. You are opening your expense tool or your Excel or whatever you are using today, and in a few seconds, you know what is coming. You scroll and you see 10, 20, sometimes 40 missing receipts, always the same name, always the same internal. You already know that during the next hours, you will be spent your time chasing people. So you will send you the first reminder, then the second one, then just checking, is it good for you? And at the same time, your month's closing is still stuck. Not because we have a difficult reconciliation, just because we have one or two, sometimes three tiny receipts, usually for 5 euros, and we are still waiting. And the truth is that it's tiring for finance. It's also tiring for the people we are chasing. No one, I think, enjoys being chased for sometimes like a coffee ticket, a coffee receipt. So it was your life before. And with the controller agents, same story. You open Paywork on the 29th, and there is no missing receipt, like zero. not because magically the people become disciplined, but because the financial controller agent did the work before you even arrived. It spots what is missing during the month, it pings the right people, and the employee just have to drop the pictures on the app, and like 2 seconds later, it reads, categorize, and attach, and they don't have to do anything just after. And on your side, you don't have to chase, you don't have to remind and remind, you don't negotiate a screenshot vs an invoice, and you don't even think about it. Like, as you put on the slide, it becomes invisible. And honestly, it's the best agent for me because when you are a financial, it's basically a routine. Each month you have a list of missing receipts, and what was used to drain your energy just stop existing. So yes, it's quite huge because what was the basis for years doesn't exist anymore. So thanks, Paywalk.
Thank you, Farah. So the main thing that the agent started out with, which we've shown you multiple times, is the chasing element, right? That's the most important bit. But let me show you a few details that are brand new, that are coming out with this winter edition. So when it comes to the submission of expenses and how easy that is for employees, because if it's easy for them, then it's easy for everyone, because if they get to do it quick and simple, then they'll actually do it and do it on time. So let's say this is a financial controller has sent me a message in the portal that I haven't uploaded my expense, and I should, because I mean that the month is going to end pretty soon. So all I need to do is literally drag and drop a file. That's like the invoice that I have received on my email, and I'm dragging, dropping it. And the agent literally, as Farah said, 2 seconds in, it's matching it, it's recognizing, it's reading all the information off of the file, it's populating fields for me, and that's it. It's even written the expense note for me. I did not have to literally press a button other than just upload the file, and my expense submission is done. The other thing that is new that I want to show you is something we've heard a lot as feedback from early adopters, and that's around the notification schedule. How often does the agent send you messages? When does it remind you about things? And we've made it very simple to adjust that. So all you would need to do is go into settings and go into the AI office. So once you turn on any of the agents, this is basically where you can set them up. And the financial controller agent has a manage button. This is where the reminder frequency lives. It's basically on default. That's going to be toggled on for you most likely. And our suggestion is to keep it as such unless you have a very specific idea of how you'd like to change it. So if you want to, you can navigate to the help article and see in detail how these are all structured, or you can directly go ahead and turn it off and go and customize it in your own way. Customizing it is going to trigger a conversation with the agent. First, it's going to tell you what it looks like now, and then you can go ahead and change anything. So you see it shows you the reminders for card expenses, pending submission, for online transactions, and for physical, or for approval requests that are still outstanding. And at the end, it also has a list of notifications around month-end digest. So these are now the more pressing reminders, summaries of things you're still to do by end of month. And you can go ahead and change anything you want, even a complicated example, change 2 things at the same time. So I want to change submission reminders, and I want to change the month-end reminders to be sent every 2 working days instead of just once. And the agent's going to apply all that, give you another summary of here's all the changes that I've made. This is what your policy looks like now, and done. From this point onwards, the notifications are going to come based on the schedule that you've selected. And we have one more agent to talk about. That is the payments agent. So if any of you are not aware, the payments agent is kind of like taking a lot of that admin work that would randomly land on finance's desk and making it so that employees can be self-sufficient. for small requests, for questions, for how does this work questions, but also for why did my card payment fail questions. And that gives back a lot of time to the finance team. I'm going to actually, in the interest of time so that we have enough for the Q&A, just quickly show you an example of the questions that you could ask the payments agent, because the latest thing is, so the most common example we have now, and we've seen a lot of positive feedback because this is the most annoying question you could get as a finance person, is why did my card payment not go through? And then the finance person needs to put on the investigation hat and go and dig out this time-consuming thing to just answer and tell you didn't have enough funds. So in this case, someone has tried to purchase something off Amazon Business and the payment failed due to insufficient funds. Now, the agent's directly suggesting also how to fix this. It's offering to send a fund request, and I just said yes. And because my policy said so, that was automatically approved, and I received the funds on my card, and I can try again. Now, reimbursements are the new addition to the payments agent, because now it can also answer any questions you may have around outstanding reimbursements. So you could go ahead and ask it anything like, was my fuel expense paid back to me already? It'll go through all of your expenses, figure out which one you're talking about, and then tell you where it's stuck in terms of approval and tell you how it's going to be paid to you, what needs to happen. Or another example, you can just ask, do I have anything that's left to be paid? If you're not aware, if you just don't remember. And then the agent is going to give you a brief summary of everything that you have outstanding and what the next steps are. And that was it with all of our agents. But lastly, I just want to spend 2 minutes to tell you a little bit about the last two things that we have as part of the Winter 25 edition. First of all, we have e-invoicing as a topic that is very exciting to a lot of our customers. We have a solution with a partner called InfoPop, who is a leading e-invoicing player in the market. And with them, we have a solution that addresses the needs of all of our European customers as the regulation becomes a thing in their countries one by one. We already have customers successfully using it in Belgium, receiving and processing their e-invoices for a bit. And if you're not sure how to set this up, contact us and we'll help you out. But because this is such an important topic, we didn't want to just mention it and leave it behind. We've dedicated an entire webinar to it. And I'll share the link with you in the chat just in a second. But please share that link and set it some time aside. Watch it when you have the availability. It's very intriguing and it goes into the depths of e-invoicing with our partner over at InfoPop. And last but not least, we've also launched custom rules that allow you to tailor access controls and make your workflows even more flexible by creating a specific type of role with the specific type of permissions that would be able to do a specific step in your workflow. So on top of the roles that we have today that you're all used to using, you can basically create any role that you can imagine based off a very long list of permissions, or you can base it off the admin role, remove some permissions, base it off the accountant, add some, base it off the user, etc. So it gives you the full freedom of creativity to create exactly what you want. And now we have some 10 minutes for the Q&A, and I saw that there are a lot of questions. As a reminder, if you have not asked yours, please use the questions tab at the bottom right corner, and we'll go through these now. I'll start reading them one by one and see who can answer. Okay. Let's see. In terms of upvotes. Well, okay, some are answered, which makes it difficult for me to show you these questions.
Maybe we can.
We can just go through them.
Sorry?
Maybe we can just go through them and share them.
Yeah, so there's one question from Molly asking, would all the AI agents be included in the current subscription, or is this a separate subscription? Thank you. And Christo, I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this stage, there are additional add-on to the existing subscription. So we're making some work to actually try to integrate them into the customer subscriptions. But today they are sold as an add-on. Actually, you have access to them to trial them until 31st of January. So you can go and enable them in your settings and experience the some of the things that you just saw. As a reminder, the web and mobile experience is coming next week. So by the end of next week, you should be able to have this full experience, an ability to trial it in our mobile and web app. So I think that is one that was highly asked, and I wanted to address another comment that people had as questions and comments related to whether we are only investing in new features, which is actually not the case. We are shipping more than 100 improvements every quarter that related to very small improvements to actually some significant improvements that we don't have time to talk about on the webinar. But there is a constant stream of product improvements happening across the board. And for us, actually, as a company, 2026 is all about how can we make the product more cohesive, simpler to use, and really ensure that there are no kind of missing features that are requested by our customers here. So, Tsveti, I guess we can go with the rest of the questions.
You're muted, Tsveti.
Sorry. There's an interesting question from Vladimir about, can our agent reach out directly to suppliers and ask for their invoice and receipt so employees do not need to search for it themselves? Who wants to take that one?
Well, of course. So I think that's quite a good question. So there are actually two things that we're doing in that direction. First of all, for all of your travel, when it comes to flights, we are automatically generating and attaching, the specific documents for certain hotels and configuration under certain countries. We're actually doing this for hotels as well, depending on your VAT setup. So if you prefer for the hotels, you can actually go and request this at the hotel itself. But we are actually going to provide for those cases where you want to go and retrieve the invoice from the hotel itself rather than our invoice, which doesn't come with VAT. If VAT is important for the hotels, then what we are planning to do is to have the ability for the agents to actually send an email to the hotel on your behalf and ask for this specific invoice so that it can attach it to the expense. Another quite important capability that we're working on, and you haven't seen it here, because it is still in alpha, but I'm using it personally and it's amazing, but there is still some more work that we're currently doing to have this live, is the ability to allow the agents to authenticate on certain websites on your behalf. So for example, when the agent is chasing you for an Uber receipt and is saying, hey, you have 5 Uber receipts you haven't submitted, it's actually providing you the option to log in. So the way this works is you allow the agent to log in on your behalf. It takes the session and then it has access to your Uber account to go and download the invoices. And this is quite neat because next time you have an Uber invoice, it can go and download the invoice on its own and attach it to your expense. Or in the future, it can call you an Uber once we integrate this experience within the portal itself. So we're really trying to streamline the whole experience with the agents. There is 1 or 2 engineering milestones that we want to cross over the next few months to ensure that this is as smooth experience as possible. But it's really, really impressive, and it works like magic because once you give it an access to your account, it remembers the session, and then this is automatically pulling this information.
Awesome. Thank you, Christo. There's one here about, can individuals submit expense requests or receipts directly on the app or through Slack? I think that's one I can handle, and I'll also answer an additional comment that I saw in the chat. But with this edition, this is exactly what we're doing. We're giving you the option to do this through the Payhawk app and portal, not necessarily through Slack, but it works either or, dependent on what you prefer. The better experience is always going to be in Payhawk because, as you saw, especially in terms of procurement and travel, it just looks completely different than your average conversation in Slack. But also additionally to this, I think someone asked in the chat when the new app and portal are actually going to be available because they don't see them. And that is going to be on Monday. So Monday next week, as soon as you have any of our agents enabled, and you can easily do that in Payhawk Labs, you'll get the new mobile and portal experience immediately. Let's see, we can answer a couple more. There was a question.
Maybe there was one that people asked about. So several people asked about travel perk or perk today, that they're using it for travel, and is the Payhawk travel similar? Yes, but actually we think it's on steroids. So there are a couple of quite important things that we're bringing in with travel. First of all, it's a full AI native experience. It is really giving a much better, faster experience, because the agent remembers your preferences, and then you can easily book a trip by just saying, hey, give me the usual trip to London. It knows your preferred airlines, it knows your preferred hotels, and it can just give you the prompts automatically, and then it can actually make the payment on your behalf. So you don't have to deal with anything on that sort. The next thing that I think is quite important is that because it's a Payhawk native experience, it goes and creates the expense reports, bundles all the expenses there, and helps you submit the expense report. So it's an end-to-end journey that happens within the platform. And then the last thing, because we are doing a lot of automations with the agents, we have an exceptional capability on the cost perspective. So we are able to provide on all the booking fees that we have, we're able to provide cashback. So this makes it extremely more cost efficient than paying, let's say, 3% today for all the bookings with alternative providers. We are going to be able to provide your eligible cashback that you have as a business is going to apply for all those booking fees as well. And on top of that, we're currently doing a lot of work in ensuring that the rates that you're getting with us are extremely more competitive than what you can find on other platforms. So not only the rates are going to be better, but the booking fees are going to be much easier. The experience is going to be much easier because of the AI native experience. It's more integrated in what Payhawk does. So, we want to make it a no-brainer for our customers to use our travel product. And hopefully you will be able to experience this yourself over the next few weeks. You can, just as a reminder, you can actually go and use the capability within the labs itself. Currently, it doesn't charge you 3%. It charges you €12 flat on any booking, and you're not eligible for cashback. But end of January, we're going to change that, and we're moving it to 3% with cashback eligibility. So right now in the labs, it's good for testing and for playing around. You can go and book several trips, hotels, and see how the experience is, and give us feedback. But we want to make sure this is the native experience when it comes to travel that you use.
Thank you. And the last one that we can sneak in, Pavel, I'm going to combine a few questions for you. So listen, because I can't hear anything on screen. But people have asked, where does the agent know our procedures from internally? How does it know how we deal with different requests? And also another viewer asked whether the procurement agent specifically can cover more than just subscriptions and L&D. So I think those are two questions you can answer in one go.
Yeah, it's a few great questions. So the procurement agent could be used way beyond the examples we just showed. Actually, you can fully customize what you use it for. So maybe I can just really quickly share a screen, which is going to make it quite obvious. So if you go ahead and go into settings, you would see that you have the full customizability on the request types that you can use. So in my demo account, I've added hardware, service, office. All of them have their own workflows, their own payment methods, fields, all of that. And they can be configured in the requests tab, where you can define your own types and fully customize the experience. The procurement agent would not have any additional configuration with regards to that. It's just going to work on top of your existing processes.
Okay. Great. Thank you for that and for all your remaining questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but we'll try to get back to you after the event ends. And a recording will be sent to everyone as well, so you can watch this again whenever you have time. Thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of the week. See you soon.
Thank you.